For today, we are going to start looking at the next section on employee benefits. What do you guys think of when you think of employee benefits? What are employee benefits? You have what? So what are those all examples of? Yeah, it's your insurance, right? Medical insurance, your vision insurance, all that good stuff. Are all jobs, do they all have the same types of insurance? No, they vary greatly. Some jobs have really great insurance where you pay almost nothing for it. Other jobs have really crappy insurance and you pay a fortune for it. So that's a big thing when you're taking on your full-time job after high school, after college, whatever. Make sure you ask about that, because you could be making like really good money, but if they charge an outrageous amount for your insurance, it's not like you're making that much money then. Okay, so that's one of the things you want to look at when you're getting a job. But we're going to talk about the different types of benefits today. Okay, so what are the benefits? So there's value-added options that an employer can choose to offer to you. Types of benefits, definitely insurance, your health insurance, life insurance, disability insurance. So that's usually the big one that people look at is for your insurance. They also can give you paid vacation time or paid sick time. PTO stands for like personal time off. So you can kind of think about some jobs only give you like personal time off, not sick days. Some places give you both. Me as a teacher, like here at Penna, I get 2 personal days per year, 1 each semester, that I can take just whenever I want to take a day off. But then I have sick time that I accumulate as the year goes on. So I can take sick time if I'm sick or my kids are sick or something like that. As far as paid vacation time, I don't get paid vacation. Okay, I'm a salary employee. Yes, they pay me all year, but they've taken the money that I've earned during the school year and they spread it out all year. So when people are like, oh, teachers get paid in the summer to do nothing. No, they're taking my pay that I earned teaching and they spread it out all year long. Okay, so do I get paid vacation? Can I like take a week off and go like on vacation with my family? No, I cannot do that. If I wanted to do that, I'd have to take unpaid time off where I would not get paid. Okay, so that's the downside to being a teacher. Yes, I get my summers off. A lot of teachers work extra jobs in the summer because they want to earn extra money. Me, I don't. I enjoy time off with my kids. Okay. Paid holiday time, retirement plans, pensions. So do you guys know when your parents, pay into retirement plans? 401k usually comes to mind when you think of retirement. Teachers don't pay into like a 401k. We have a STRS, State Teacher Retirement System. We have our own system as teachers. Okay. Stock ownership. I know I have a friend who works at a corporation in Columbus, and he's like really high up on the ladder. He gets all kinds of stock options. His stock payouts and like bonuses that he gets is probably more than I make in a year, which is just ridiculous. So that's always something good to look at. And then child care leave, especially for the ladies in here. When you have a baby someday, make sure you know what kind of options you have for that. Like here as a teacher, at least here at Penna, I have to use my sick time when I would go on maternity leave. So I took 6 weeks off after every child that was born. I had to use 6 weeks worth of sick time. So some teachers, if you ask, like especially the guys around here, they might have like hundreds of sick days built up. I have 12 because I have 3 kids. So I've used at least 30 sick days with every child. That's just after I had them. Never mind every doctor's appointment and everything else that you have to take. So something to keep in mind as you get into that part of your life where you might want to have kids. Benefits are usually offered to full-time employees. There are some jobs that maybe might give you partial benefits if you're part-time, but it's usually full-time only. And they vary definitely based on job and employer. For example, the secretary down in the Sallyport, do you guys know who she is, Mrs. Little? When you walk in that first little entry, that's my sister-in-law. She used to work at a bank. She worked at a bank. She was like a mortgage officer person. She worked there for 20 years, got paid not well at a bank for actually all the work she did. And her insurance cost her over $400 a month. And then she had like a $4,000 deductible that she had to hit before that crappy insurance kicked in. So she worked there, brought home next to nothing because it was all going to insurance, gets the job here, makes more money being a secretary at a school than she did being a boss at a bank. So don't discount a job, okay, based on like, oh, a secretary doesn't make much. No, she makes more here than a supervisor at a bank. So keep that in mind. Insurance is better here too. Okay, so vocab. Now, when we have our test, which will not be until next week sometime, there will be the whole front page that's nothing but vocab. So you'll have a word bank, so it'll be matching. But you will need to know a lot of vocab. And we'll play some different vocab games in here to help you learn those better. All right, so this is all vocab for insurance. So it covers all members of the immediate family, and that is family health care. Usually when you sign up for insurance, you can choose whether you are signing up for the family plan or the individual. So obviously an individual covers just you, where a family is going to cover you, typically your spouse if they're on your insurance, and then all of your children as well. And then covers only the employee. That one's called your individual health care. Again, if you're single, you know, right out of school, you're going to choose individual because it's just you. You don't have to worry about anybody else. Do you think there's a price difference between individual and family? Yeah, definitely a price difference there. All right, do you guys know the cost you pay each month for your insurance? Do you guys know what that's called? Because you know you pay monthly, right, for insurance? That is your premium. Now again, depending on where you work, depends on how high or how low that premium is. All right, an amount paid before your plan will cover your care beyond the essential benefits is your deductible. Now, deductible means you have to pay, like let's say you went in, you had surgery, the bill was $20,000. Okay, do you pay $20,000? No. Deductible is the amount that is set in your insurance plan that you pay this much, and then we won't pay anything until you've paid that much. And then after that, they pay everything. So when I taught in Findlay for 10 years. My insurance there was not as great. I had a $4,000 personal one that I had to meet and a $8,000 deductible for my family. So before my insurance would kick in, if my kids, I had to pay $8,000 before it would kick in. It was not great. Okay, I didn't pay much per month for my premium, but my deductibles were really, really high, which was not great. Now I'm on my husband's insurance plan. He's also a teacher. His insurance is amazing. We pay a little more every month, but I don't have a deductible. They pay for everything. So if it's worth it for me with 3 kids who are constantly at the doctor's office to pay a little more per month, but then know that everything's covered 100%. If you ever hear people say like towards the end of the year that they've met their deductible, so then they're like, I'm going to get all the blood work done, I'm going to get all this testing done, I'm going to have my surgeries done, because they know once they've hit the deductible, everything after their insurance covers 100%. So that's when a lot of people, if they max out early, they're like, all right, well, I guess I got the sniffles today, I'm going to go get some blood work done, I'm going to get this done, get that done, because everything's covered. All right, a flat fee you pay whenever care is provided, that is your copay. And again, those can vary as well. For me, with our insurance, my copay, if I go to the doctor's office, I'm sick, go see my doctor, it costs me $20 that I pay the day I'm in the office, and that's all I pay because I don't have a deductible with my insurance. Like for me, so it's $20 for doctors. If I go to urgent care, it's $35, and if I go to the emergency room, I only pay $50. Like I know the teacher down the hall, she's on her husband's insurance. He's a contractor. So for their insurance, when she goes, hers is like $30 copay. She pays $50 at urgent care, and she pays $100 at the emergency room. So she's more than what I do, but it just depends on what insurance plan you're on. So they vary greatly. All right, and then co-insurance. It's a percent of the charge of care that you pay, counts towards your deductible. Usually your co-insurance allows you to pay only a certain percentage of each bill, and they kind of take that and that goes towards meeting that deductible. If it's $4,000, $8,000, whatever that deductible might be. Okay, yeah, a lot of words to get through before we get to the actual math problems in here. Different types of health insurance plan. Okay, so there's different values, you know, different rates, different premiums, deductibles, all that stuff. There's different types of insurance. First one is a health maintenance organization, or an HMO. Have you guys ever heard of an HMO plan before? You have to go home and ask your parents tonight what type of insurance they have. I'd be curious, just a curiosity tomorrow, for you guys to come in and tell, you know, see how many of you have HMO versus the other one we're going to talk about. HMO health services are delivered through a network of providers or facilities. You have to pay your premiums, deductible, co-pays, or co-insurance. Preventative care is usually free, so that's a nice pro. That's a good thing. If you have an HMO, Preventative care would be like your well visits for your kids, right? They go in every year to get their shots and all that good stuff. If you go, once a year for your vision to get your eyes checked, those are well visits, right? That's preventative. So those are usually free appointments. It has the least amount of paperwork for other plans. There's not much for you guys to fill out there. The downside to an HMO is the least amount of freedom in choosing your healthcare providers. There's like a small group and you can go see these doctors and that's it. Okay, otherwise you got to pay ridiculous amounts. So often you need a referral from your regular doctor if you want to see a specialist. Okay, for a short time when I taught in Findlay, we did have an HMO and it was awful. If I wanted to go see somebody, other than my regular doctor, I had to get approval from that doctor first, and I had to send the paperwork over to the other doctor. They had to approve it. So like I couldn't just go and like make an appointment. It took like a week or two to get that whole process done. And then you can only see doctors in your network. Otherwise, you have to pay the full bill and your insurance won't cover any of it. So definitely for this type of plan, you want to be very specific that you look at, these are the doctors I can go to, and that's only who you see. Otherwise, you pay outrageous amounts. The other type is a preferred provider organization, or a PPO. This is the type of insurance I have currently. Health services delivered through, it's still a network, but usually the network is huge. Like there are not a whole lot of doctors I can't see underneath this program. Some pros, preventative care is usually free again. Moderate freedom in choosing your healthcare provider. Like I remember going to a meeting when my husband's work changed their insurance like this. And they're like, if there's a doctor you want to see and it's not on the list, call us. We can probably get them put on the list. So it's kind of nice. Like I can see just about anybody I want. Just like for my insurance, like I have to go see in March, I'll miss a day in March. I have to go see an endocrinologist and I get to go to the University of Michigan because the ones around here are not so great. So I'll be going to U of M in March to see a different endocrinologist. No referrals needed for a specialist. My doctor did not have to refer me to go see that endocrinologist. Some downsides, there is more paperwork compared to other plans if you see out-of-network providers. But again, I've never seen an out-of-network. So for me, I don't see any paperwork. And again, if you do see an out-of-network, maybe, there we go. It is higher cost versus the in-network. So for me, again, the vast number of doctors in my network, I don't ever have to go out. So then I don't really ever pay anything extra. All right, and then there's so those are the HMO and the PPO are the two types of plans. And then there's another thing called a high deductible health plan. So it could be either HMO or PPO, it could be either one. The high deductible is like what I had when I taught in Findlay, where I told you my deductible that I had to meet was $4,000 for myself and $8,000 for my family, which is ridiculous amounts of money. But if you have one of these, you pay higher out of pocket when you go to the doctor because my deductible is higher, but the premiums are a lot lower. So like when I was on this insurance in Findlay, I think I only paid like $30 a month for my insurance for my entire family. So I didn't pay much per month. So that was one of those things like if you're relatively healthy, you don't have a lot of health issues, nothing majorly wrong with you, you might be like, yeah, I'm gonna go with this. I'm gonna pay very little per month. Some places it's even free, depending on where you work. Because you're like, I don't go to the doctor that much anyway, so to have a high deductible doesn't really bother you. But if you're somebody that you have different medications you take every month, you have different health issues going on, this one might be scary for you because you have to pay a lot more every time you go to the doctor. Okay. Same thing, preventative care is usually free. Most health plans it is. Lower premium. So again, like I paid like $30 a month for my entire family, which was great. Often paired with a health savings account or an HSA. We'll talk more about this when we get to the taxes chapter, but this is where you can take money from your paycheck, put in this savings account, and you don't get taxed on it, which is nice. They don't charge you taxes. But it only then can be used for medical purposes. So if you know that you have like monthly prescriptions, you could put money in that account, not get taxed on it, and then use that money to pay for those prescriptions every month, which is nice. Then you're not taxed on that money. You are in control of more with a plan like this. You can shop around, you can go see whatever doctors you want, but that usually means there's more to keep track of, depending on where you're going. Deductible is at least $1,300 for individual and $2,600 for a family. Again, mine was $4,000 and then $8,000 when I was on it. But it should not be more than $6,550 for an individual or $13,100 for a family, which is still really a lot of money. And it may or may not have a copay or co-insurance, so it just depends. Remember, copay is like if I go to the doctor, like right now I pay $20 when I go. You got to pay the day you're there. So again, it may or may not, depending on your plan. All right, that's a lot of info. You guys head spinning yet? No? Yes? Do me a favor, though. When you go home tonight, ask your parents what type of insurance you guys have. Is it high deductible? Do you have an HMO? Do you have a PPO? You know, find out, like, what are your co-pays? Like, what do you pay every time you go to the doctor? Do any of you know? $20, you're also 20? 25? Okay. I just be curious to see the varying differences in here. Okay. Required benefits. So unemployment insurance. So it is a government program, offers benefits to eligible employees who through no fault of their own have become unemployed. Okay, so if you lose your job, right, I always think of like construction, where in the wintertime, like they're laid off, right, because they a lot of times don't work in the winter. They will receive temporary assistance and must be looking for employment. They receive a percentage of what they earned at their job over a qualifying period of employment, or a base period. So if you lose your job, right, there's unemployment that you guys get. Do you always get exactly how much you made? No, you always get like a percentage of that. So at least you have something while you're looking for another job, so you're not just out on your own. And then workers' compensation. That offers assistance to employees who are injured while working at their job. Any of you know anybody who's ever gotten workers' compensation before? Workers' comp? Neil, you're shaking your head, yeah? Oh. Oh. That's awful. They fight. Yeah. Well, at least they paid the medical. He was hurt while he was at work. Did you say, yeah, you knew somebody? What's your dad do? Strip out chickens? Oh, okay. And he hurt his ankle and he got workers' comp? Oh. Yeah, that's a big thing. Like if you go into work and they haven't like salted the sidewalks and you would fall walking into work, like on their property, they're responsible for that. So that doesn't mean go and fall on purpose, but just something, if you would fall and hurt yourself because they didn't like salt the sidewalks, they're responsible if it's on their property. All right, let's actually do some math then. All right, so if you do not have a calculator out, make sure you grab one. All right, so number one, Alan has worked for a printing company for a little over 4 years. He now makes $54,080 per year. When he was hired, he was told that he had 5 days of paid vacation time. For each year that he worked at the company, he would gain another 2 days of paid vacation time to a max of 20 days, meaning he will never earn, he cannot accumulate more than 20 days. How many paid vacation days does he now get at the end of 4 years of employment? And how much money will he earn while he's on vacation? Okay, so let's try to figure this thing out. All right, so he has worked there for 4 years. Kind of look at the key info here. He makes $54,080 per year. When he was hired, he was told that he had 5 days of paid vacation. So right as soon as he got hired in, you get 5 days. Like that was just given to him when he got hired. For each year that he works, he would gain another 2 days of paid vacation time. So every year he gets another 2 days. Okay? So right away he started out with 5. And then he is earning 2 days for every year. How many years has he been there? He's been there for 4 years. So how many days does he have now? He has 13 days. Now, when it says to a maximum of 20, meaning once he hits 20, that's it. He stops accumulating them. So then he would have 20 days of vacation every year. Now, when you think about 20 days of vacation, how many weeks is that? . Oh, think about a work week. That'd be 4 weeks. Yeah, you think about, you typically work a 5-day work week, right? Monday to Friday. That's what you were to say, we work 5 days a week, right? So you got to stop and think about that. When you earn 20 days, that's actually, that's 4 weeks because there's only 5 days in a work week. All right, so how many paid vacation days does he have? 13. How much money will he earn while he's on vacation? So this is something we need to really stop and think about. So we're talking about days. So we need to somehow change how much he makes per year into how much does he make per day, right? Your units always have to match. So what do you think we're going to have to do with the 54,080? Divide it by what? So a lot of you are saying 365. Do you work 365 days a year? So how many work days are there in a year? How many weeks are in a year? Let's start there. There's 52 weeks in a year, right? There's 52 weeks. And then how many days a week do you typically work? 5. So how many days in a year do you actually work? 260 days. So 260 days worked per year. Yeah, you got to stop and think. You're not actually working 365 days a year. I mean, you may because you're a crazy work person, but typically you only work 5 days a week. So if we want to change his salary per year to per day, we have to actually divide by 260 because he's getting paid for each day that he's actually working. Okay, so how much does he actually make per day? 208 per day. Okay, well, if he makes $208 per day, the question asked, how much money will he earn while he's on vacation? Well, how many vacation days did he have? He had 13. So we'll have to do is 13 days times he makes $208 per day. So he would make $2,704 when he takes vacation days. Does that make sense how we had to kind of switch that to his pay per year, and we're talking about days? Okay, so you always want to kind of watch, like if we were talking about months, we would have to figure out monthly as opposed to daily. Right? You always got to kind of go back and look and see how it's broken down for you. Okay, questions there? All right, number 2. Frida's employer offers her family health care as an employee benefit. Frida must contribute 12% of the cost. All right, so 12% is Frida, and her employer will cover the rest. So what percent is her employer doing? If she's 12%, what's the employer? That'd be 88%. So her employer is 88%. Frida gets paid on a bi-weekly basis, and she notices that $88.50 is taken out of each paycheck for her portion of the insurance. All right, so there's her $88.50, that's her insurance part. How much does Frida's employer contribute for her coverage? All right, there's a lot going on in this problem. So she pays 12% of the cost. Now when it talks about 12% of the cost, that's 12% of the cost for the year. So she's paying $88.50 each paycheck. How many times a year does she get paid? She's biweekly, so that's 26. So let's kind of take this then back to the year. So she's getting charged $88.50 per pay, and that's 26 pays for the year. So how much for the year is she actually paying? Good. 2,301. Let's make sure we know what that is. That is Frida's contribution for insurance for the year. All right, sometimes we get going in these problems, we find so many different numbers, we forget what we found as we went through. All right, so that's how much she pays for the year, because she says that she has to do 12% of the entire cost for the year. All right, so the question, though, asked how much does Frida's employer contribute? Well, all right, well, if we know that she pays 12%, how can we set this up to figure out, can we figure out what the actual cost is for the whole year? Okay, we have her number, right? So we know she's paying 12% of the total, and that's 2301. Oh man, there's an X. Algebra came back again. All right, does that make sense though? 12% of whatever the cost is 2301 because she pays 12%. So how do I figure out how much the total cost is? Yeah, just divide by 12%. So what's the total cost for the insurance? Good, $19,175. So this is the total cost for insurance. So if the total is $19,175 and she pays $2301, how do you figure out what her employer pays? Yeah, just subtract them. So $19,175 minus $2301. So the total cost minus Frida's share is going to be left with how much the actual employer pays. $16,874. And that's the employer share. Right. So that was definitely a multi-step process there. They gave you such a little info, we had to kind of take that big scale and to bring it back down to what the employer is paying. All right, questions? Definitely take good notes. When I ask you to do this on your own, you may need to kind of refer back to that, okay? All right, number 3. Ooh, it's a long story problem. Does anybody get scared when they see really long story problems to even read them? Some of you? They're not bad. Just when you're reading through long ones, especially, kind of highlight and like key in the, the key stuff there. All right, at Richardson Manufacturing Company, there are 2 factors that determine the cost of healthcare. If an employee makes less than $55,000 per year, pay $60 per month for individual, $115 per month for family. So again, this is going to be based on how much money you're making for the year, how much you pay. Okay? If an employee makes at least 55, so 55 or more, it's $90 per month for individual, and then family is $165. So depending on how much you make, if you make more, they're going to charge you more for your insurance. All right, so Ariel is an office assistant at Richardson. She makes $47,700 per year. So where does she fall? The first part or the second part? The first part, right? She's making $47,700, and it says if you make less than this, which she does, it's going to be $60 per month for individual or $115 for family. So those are the numbers. The rest of this info up here for Ariel does not matter because that's not what she makes. All right, so she has an individual health care. So how much is she paying per month? $60, because it says she's individual, $60. $60 per month. I haven't even read the whole question yet, and I'm just kind of pulling out those little key pieces. All right, her yearly contribution is 5% of the total cost of the health care policy. How much does her employer contribute? So this one's very similar to the last problem. We just had to kind of figure out where she fell and all of that. All right, so we know she pays $60 per month, but her yearly contribution is 5%. It's talking yearly. So what do I have to do with this number? Multiply by 12. Good. This is per month. How many months are in a year? 12. So we have to multiply by 12 to change this to yearly. You always got to watch how it's set up. You want your units to match. right, so 60 times 12, what do we get? $720. And that's per year, right? That's how much she pays per year. All right, well, if her yearly contribution's 5% of the total cost, can we set this up like we did the last one? Right? 5% is 0.05 times the total should be what she pays. Right? 5% of the total cost, which we don't know, should be 720. So how do you solve for x? Yeah, let's just divide by the 0.05. So what is the total cost? What'd you get? Good. 14,400. That's the total cost for the year. The question asks, though, how much does her employer contribute? What do we have to do? Yeah. Take your total, subtract out how much she pays, and you're left with what the employer pays for, which is $13,680. All right, this was your total, minus this was Ariel's, and this is going to give you the employer. Right? So very similar to the last one though, right? They kind of just give you one piece at a time. You got to take it back to the whole year, figure out what the total cost was, then you can take it back to what the employer's paying. All right, next one's using the same top part, right? But we have a different scenario with Catherine. Okay, so the top part's the same. Catherine's a department manager. Her annual salary is $68,300. So is she falling in the less than 55 or at least 55,000? She's at least, right? She makes at least 55. She's actually more than that. And then it says she has family health care. How much does she pay per month? Good. It says right here, family is $165 per month. Okay, so she pays $165 per month because she's got the family. Her employer contributes $935 per month toward her total coverage cost. So this one's a little different. They didn't tell you what she paid. They told you what her employer paid. What percent does Catherine contribute toward her total coverage? What percent? So this time I'm finding the percentage. So this one's a little bit different. All right. So if she pays $165, employer pays $935 per month. Do I have to take this to the yearly, or can I just keep this in monthly? Do my units match right now? We're talking about her employer is per month, and this is how much Catherine pays per month. So they're both per month. All right, stop and think for a minute. We're doing percentages. Let's say we're talking about a test. If I told you on a test that you missed five, and you got 15 right, how would you figure out what grade you got on there? Well, I'm hearing a lot of different things going on. So let's stop and think for a minute. Little side note, because I need you guys to think. Side note. If on a test you missed 5, and correct was 15 of them. You got 15 correct, you missed 5. What grade would you get? What would I write at the top of your paper? I'd write 15 over 20, right? I would say that you got 15 out of 20, right? Because you missed 5 and you got 15 right. That means there was 20 questions altogether, so I got 15 out of 20. Does that make sense? Back to here. So we know that she pays $165 per month. Her employer pays $935. So she pays what percent? If you were figuring out your grade, you would figure out the 15 out of 20 for a percentage. So you didn't actually use the 5 here, right? You didn't use both those numbers. You ended up getting a total, right? This was total. So what is the total for the insurance? How much money is actually paid all together per month between you and your employer? What? Good, $1,100. Because you pay $165, they pay $935, so altogether for total for the whole month is $1,100. Well, if we want to know what percent is Catherine's, well, she pays $165 per month. So what's $165 out of the $1,100? What percent? That is 15%. Now, just to make sure we're okay, how he got 15%, if you divide this, what does it give you? It's going to give you 0.15. Think about how we always change percentages to decimals. So same thing, you have to multiply that by 100 to change it to a percentage. So that's going to be 15%. That was a tricky one. Okay? Definitely a tricky one, how to set that one up. Now, there could be other ways to set it up, but for me, that's the easiest without doing a whole lot of math. Okay? Questions so far? In just a moment. It's coming. I promise. All right, let's do one more, and then we'll take our break. Stay with me, Trinity. All right, number 4. Marina is the director of the Washington Performing Arts Center. Her employer offers a pension. Marina's employer uses a formula to calculate the pension. Marina is planning on retiring at the end of this year after 25 years of employment. All right, a retiring employee receives 1.5% of his or her average salary for the last 5 years of employment, multiplied by the number of years worked. Marina would receive this amount each year until her death. Her salaries for the last 5 years, and they list her salaries, calculate her pension. There's a lot going on in there, right? So let's kind of go through what's important, all right? What's important is it's going to be 25 years that she's worked, and she gets 1.5% of the average for the last 5 years. All right, Marina would receive this amount each year until her death. All right, so what do we think? Salaries for the last 5 years. What do we have to do with those 5 salaries first? We got to find the average. How do you find the average of something? Perfect. Add them all up. So 88,900 plus 92,200 plus 96,000 plus 98,000 plus 102,000. Add them all up and divide by 5. No, you're fine. All right, so add them all up, and then we're going to divide by 5. So what do we find for an average? Uh-oh. When you add them all up, what do you get? Let's start there. Good. 477,100. Divide by 5. There it is. $95,420. That's the average salary. $95,420 average salary. All right, so it says that she gets 1.5% of the average salary. So what do we have to do now to figure out what 1.5% of that is? Multiply by 1.5%. So 95,420. What's 1.5% as a decimal? Good. That's going to be 0.015. All right. So that should give you $1,431.30. Is that all she's getting? $1,431? Read the problem. What else does it say? Retiring employee receives 1.5% of their average salary for the last 5 years multiplied by the number of years worked. How many years did she work? She worked 25 years, so multiply that by 25. So she's actually going to get $35,782.50 for her pension. That's how much she'll get every year until she dies. All right, number 5. Let's finish these up, okay? Number 5, in Reese's state, the weekly unemployment compensation is 60% of the 26-week average for the 2 highest salaried quarters. A quarter is 3 consecutive months. So if they're talking about 2 quarters, and each quarter is 3 months, how many months are we talking? 6 months. So does it make sense then 6 months, it says 26 weeks? Because how many weeks are in a year? 52, and half of a year is 26. So 6 months, it goes together. 26 weeks is 6 months. All right, so for July, August, and September, so there's the first quarter, they earned a total of $9,024. October, November, December, the next quarter, so there's 6 months altogether, right? Determine Reese's unemployment compensation. So he gets 60% of the 26-week average for the 2 highest salary quarters. So they gave us 2 quarters. What do I have to do with those numbers? I got to average them. Yeah. So don't get all thrown off by the 26 weeks and 3 months and 3 months, like all of that good stuff. It's just giving you the half a year that you need, average them together, and we'll see what we get. So we're going to average 9,024 plus 9,800. The question is, what do you divide by? It's not 2. It's not 6. 26. Because we're talking about weeks, and it told you 26 weeks. So we're going to add those together. Make sure if you're using your calculator and you add them, make sure you hit equals before you hit divide by 26. All right, so what is the average per week? $724 per week. And it says the weekly unemployment compensation is 60%. So if that's how much he made per week, he's only going to get 60% of that. So 724 times 60%, 0.6 or 0.60. So he's going to make $434.40 per week in unemployment. So you get just over half. Now, you think they'll take taxes out of that before they give it to you also? Yeah, bless you. Unfortunately, they will. But again, keep in mind, guys, your units have to match because it says the weekly unemployment compensation. So I knew I had to change it to weeks. They told me it was 26 weeks. That's why we divided by 26. All right, questions there? That was not bad as long as you remember to divide by 26. All right, we're almost there, guys. Almost there. Number 6, Wanda lives in the same state as Reese. Her weekly unemployment compensation is $360. What were the total 26-week earnings for her highest 2 consecutive quarters of employment? So she's kind of working backwards a little bit. So what percent does she get? It's still 60 because it says she works in the same place Reese did. So it's still 60% of whatever that highest was. And it says her weekly is 360. So this one's similar, but just a little bit working backwards. We took 60% multiplied by the total to figure out how much she made per week. So same idea here, we'll set it up. We don't know the total. And we just have to divide by 0.6. So how much was she making per week? Oh yeah, sorry, 600. My brain was looking at something else. 600 per week. Did we answer the question? It wanted to know the total 26-week earnings. Just multiply by 26, yeah. We'll do 600 times 26. Perfect. So a problem like this, I don't think is terribly difficult to set up. It's just a matter of reading carefully, right? Didn't want how much she made per week. It wanted the total of the 26-week earnings. You had to multiply that by 26. Again, like I've told you guys from the beginning, this class, the math portion of it, I don't think is that hard. It's just a matter of reading carefully and knowing what it's asking you. Last question. Almost there, guys. Number 7. Laura, however you pronounce that, also lives in the same state. She made the same weekly salary for each of the 26 weeks in her 2 highest consecutive quarters. She will receive a weekly unemployment compensation check for $570. What was her weekly salary when she worked for the company? So, is this similar to the last one we did? Kind of. Did it require more work or less work than the last problem? Less work, because it just wants to know her weekly salary. Yeah, so same idea. She gets 60% of whatever that total, that average was, and it said that she gets $570. All right, so just divide. So what is her weekly salary? $950. Do I need to multiply this by 26? No, I do not. Reason being, it asked for what was her weekly salary. It just wanted per week. The last one asked for what was her 26-week earnings. So that's why I multiplied that one by 26. All right. Whew, this section is a lot. It's a lot of info. How are we feeling? Not good? The big thing with this, guys, for homework for tonight as you're working through it, make sure you have your notes in front of you so you can kind of refer back to what we did in class. I try as much as I can to give you examples and notes versus what you might see on homework so you can kind of practice through that. Can I go to number 5? Yeah? Is that what you need?